Recreation is based on a true story. On the Friday before Christmas in 1996, Sophie Toscan Du Plantier came from Paris to her holiday home in West Cork, Ireland. On the Saturday, neighbour Mary Farrell observed Sophie being followed by a man wearing a long black coat. On the Sunday night, again Mary Farrell said she saw the same man from her car near Sophie's house. On the Monday, Sophie's dead body was found in the laneway leading up to her home. Mary would later identify the man in the long black coat as journalist Ian Bailey. 50 days later, Ian Bailey was arrested, but the Irish refused to prosecute Bailey, saying that Mary Farrell was an unreliable witness. However, 20 years later, in his absence, the French tried Bailey, finding him guilty, but the Irish courts refused to extradite him to France. In this film Recreation, this is a reimagining of what would have happened if the Irish courts actually tried Ian Bailey for murder. In a fictitious trial, 12 members of a jury must decide whether journalist Ian Bailey is guilty of the murder of French filmmaker Sophie Toscan Du Plantier in 1996. Based on real events, this film reconstructs, through the discussions between 12 people, a case that ultimately invites the viewer to draw their own conclusions. Recreation is directed by David Merriman and Jim Sheridan. This is David's first feature debut, and this is Jim Sheridan has directed films such as My Left Foot and In the Name of the Father. Recreation just debuted at the 2025 Tribeca Film Festival. Recreation is an interesting film because I don't think I've seen a film where they create a fake trial and a fake jury process where we get a room of 12 jury members and they're discussing a case, and it's completely fabricated trial. The film kind of starts off kind of like a crime thriller type documentary, like we're introduced to the journalist, the main suspect, Ian Bailey, played by Cole Meany, but it's kind of like a cameo role. He doesn't really have any speaking lines in the film. We just see him like going into prison and then coming out of prison and in the courtroom. So just like, and it's all fake. So none of that actually happened. So that's kind of like a cameo role by Cole Meany, and also Irish actor Aidan Gillen has like a little bit of a cameo role at the start of the film as a prosecutor. So I guess director Jim Sheridan got his Irish mates to do some cameos in this film. But after the initial first scenes, we jump right into the jury room where there's 12 jury members. I think 6 men, 6 women, and some of them from different backgrounds. They're not all Irish. And the director Jim Sheridan, he has cast himself as one of the jury members. He's kind of like the foreman. He's the one who's organizing everything in his jury room. He's the one who counts the guilty votes and the non-guilty votes. And at the start of this jury process, Jim Sheridan, jury number 1, he gets everybody to cast their vote straight away, straight as soon as they're in the room. If they're guilty or not, everybody votes guilty, except for one woman played by Vicky Krieps. She votes not guilty, and everybody else in the room is quite shocked that she votes not guilty. Everybody's like, how can you vote not guilty? Like, haven't you seen the evidence? But Vicky Krieps, she has some doubt. Like she understands that voting not guilty sounds absurd at that time, despite all the evidence. But she just has some doubts, and she just wants to maybe discuss the evidence a little bit more. And Vicky Krieps' main combatant in this film is juror number 3. He is very he speaks loud, and he's a big man, and he wants his trial to be over. He's 100% sure that the journalist Ian Bailey is guilty of the murder of Sophie, and he just wants his trial to be over done with. And he kind of uses like bullying tactics against Vicky and the other jury members to kind of sway their vote. But Vicky's doubt starts to influence other people in the juror, and Vicky starts to okay, let's look at all of this evidence. Let's look at all the evidence that we didn't get to see. Let's go outside the courtroom, let's go to the actual location of the murder, let's go to the village, let's go to everywhere, let's just look all over all of the evidence. And the juror number one, foreman, he agrees that, okay, let's look at all the evidence again. And then as they slowly throughout the film look at more and more evidence, slowly it becomes like 2 people think they're not guilty, 3 people think he's not guilty, 4, and then slowly, and then by the 1 hour mark of the film, more than half of the jury members are not quite sure about the guilty verdict and have changed their vote to not guilty. Not because they don't think Ian Bailey is guilty, but because I think because of the evidence, there's just too much evidence there that would possibly he's not guilty. So they would not feel comfortable saying he's guilty when there's so much evidence that could mean he's not guilty as well. I think probably what makes this film most interesting, not just because of the performances, mainly Vicky Krieps' performance, but I think everybody casts their vote at the start of the jury process, and if everybody had said guilty, then basically it's a quick trial, and then he's found guilty and he goes to jail or whatever, he gets sentenced. But I think having that one person vote not guilty and then they explore more the evidence later, I think it shows that the jury process you can't just vote guilty everybody and then the case is closed in one day. You have to spend a few days, a week, exploring all the evidence and making sure you're 100% sure that this person is guilty, because because I understand, like, if this person is guilty and he ends up free, he could kill somebody again, but if he's innocent, he has the right to like the jury members to, it's their responsibility to make sure they go through all the evidence and spend time, and not just, okay, at the start of the jury process, okay, he's guilty, and lock away the key, the process is over in one day. I said the main strength of this film is to show that the jury process must be very thoughtfully carefully thought out, and it must be very thorough. And another aspect of the film was, as I said before, the juror number 3, the bullying juror. He is able to influence everybody's vote, but that part of the film was interesting too, because how everybody changes their view as they see more evidence as the film goes on. But one thing, I just thought that the jury members changed their mind. It was a little bit predictable how they changed their mind as the film went on, and you could just see that juror number 3, his character arc was very predictable. Like by the end of the film, he kind of like came around, and his like personal feelings and his personal history kind of influenced his vote, and that his character arc and some of the other character arcs from the other jury members was a little bit predictable. It was a little bit too easy how everybody changed their vote and mind as the film got on, but it didn't really take away from how interesting this case and how interesting this jury process was. I give Recreation 3.5 stars out of 5. Some lovely performances in this film, especially from Vicky Krieps as one of the jury members. It's interesting to see this fake jury process. I've never really seen this type of thing in a film before, and it's interesting to see how the jury members change their thoughts as they gain more evidence as the film goes on. I did find some of the character arcs a little bit predictable as the film go on, but it still didn't take away from how interesting this film was. So thanks for watching. What did you think of Recreation? Please comment below what you thought of the film. See you next time. Bye.